Today, like I said, we are going to have some training specific to consistency and persistence. And as always, we love to bring on our LifeWave leaders that exemplify these qualities through their daily action, what they teach their team through their own example, and have been able to achieve great things. And today, our guest is Charlotte Price Watts, and she's a presidential director out of Branson, Missouri. Now, Charlotte has been with us for just over a year, and it has been such a pleasure to get to know her and work with her as she's built her business and supported the growth within her team. Charlotte's also a John Maxwell certified coach and has been since 2014. She has decades of experience and truly exemplifies the qualities of consistency and persistence, but also loyalty. The first company that she built with, she was with them for over 30 years. And Charlotte, you'll have to correct me if I'm getting that wrong, but she was part of taking that company from the ground all the way up to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year through a lot of work, consistency, and a ton of persistence. So Charlotte, welcome to the call.
Hi, Emily. It's nice to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. I so appreciate you sharing your time with us today. And I know this is a topic that you believe in wholeheartedly and that
Yes.
you really, truly embody. I meant that when I said it. So thank you for sharing today with us. I know everyone's going to love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I like to kind of just dive in because I know we have limited time here. And so I want to really get into the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty, and hear some of your words of advice. But before we start to hop into some questions, I want to give everyone a little bit of a vision of who you are. And I remember you and I had a conversation. This was probably about 6 or 7 months ago. And you shared with me that you have this thing that you do. You write your dreams, your goals, or your vision on these 3x5 cards that you put next to your computer monitor, and that you've been able to achieve so many of those things, which I love. But something you shared with me that was so poignant and helped me understand you a little bit was this isn't magic. Achieving those goals requires hard work, but also doing the same thing over and over again, thus consistency and persistence, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear directly from you. What does persistence or consistency mean to you?
Well, I think those are two words to write at the top of your notebook when you start, because being consistent means that you do it over and over and over and over until it kind of becomes a habit so you really don't have to even think about. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. You do a certain thing a certain way every morning, putting on your shoes, whatever. Those are all habits that we learn. And being consistent to me is developing a habit. So I don't have to think. I can just go through the motions. But I think if we're not careful, we get stuck going through the motions and we forget that we need to be persistent in those actions. So consistency is going to help develop the habit, but being persistent means that you take that habit and you evaluate it and you teach it to grow larger as you're doing your daily activities. And you also learn to evaluate maybe in a different way than if you just take it and say, well, this is the way it is. And that's the way we've always done it. So I think that you have to add some persistence. Yeah, I think they say that consistency is the key, but I think persistence is the golden key that adds to that.
I like that. The golden key. We definitely like the things that sparkle and shine, right? And open
Absolutely.
doors, right? Open doors for us. I love that. So what I'm kind of hearing from you as you shared the difference between those words, but how they work together, is that you really probably need to have a plan and that you continue to do that every day. Why is that so important? Why is that the key to using the golden key?
Emily, whenever I first started, I did not understand the importance of having, I had a goal and I had a vision of where I wanted to be, but I didn't realize how important the daily activities were to get me there. So when I first started in this business, and truthfully, I didn't expect to be in this business, to be quite honest with you. I kind of got pitched into it because of an accident. And I'm so thankful I did, just simply because the first 3 years were not easy. As a matter of fact, I think you would have to say I was probably a pretty big failure. And one of the biggest lessons I learned was the company I was with was in the town that I was in. So I could go into the home office and meet with the owner of the company. And after about 3 years, I just wasn't where I thought I should be. So one day I walk into his office and so, you know what, I think I'm going to quit. And I'm expecting him to beg me to stay because it is a fairly new company. And I just think I wanted some pity. I'm not really sure what I expected. But he looks up from his desk and he said, "There's the door. Why don't you leave?" And I was like, whoa, you're not going to ask me to stay. Those kind of the shock factor was there. And he looked up and he said, "There's the door. What are you waiting for?" And I said, "You really want me to quit?" He said, "You just fired yourself." He said, "I didn't fire you." And I thought, wow, he didn't, it made me realize, he said, "You have your own business. You're responsible for it. You're responsible for your growth. We're going to give you the tools to work with. We're going to give you the products to work with. But this is your company. You're running it. So you just fired yourself. Go home." So I walked out and I went home and I thought about that because I'd never really been fired before. And I'd certainly never fired myself before. And I realized that if this is my company, then I have to change my attitude. I have to realize I'm responsible. I have to take responsibility for what I've done, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And I thought, if I owned a company, I'd be looking at numbers, number one. I'd be looking at totals. Why did I get this result when I did this? What can we do to improve those numbers? So basically, it was a matter of sitting down, evaluating what had happened year 1, year 2, year 3, taking those numbers and seeing what had gone up, what had gone down, the different areas that I had people working in, were we growing, basically, and where, if we're not, why not? I mean, that was the next question. So that after about 3 days and feeling sorry for myself and crying, the thing girls do best, all the other things that we do, I decided, you know what, I'm going to rehire myself, but this time I'm going to take a different attitude. And that was really kind of the catalyst that just kind of propelled this thing forward. So every day from that day on, I decided every day I have to look at what I did and I have to be honest with me. And, we want people to feel sorry for us. We want people to empathize with us when something goes wrong. But we need to take an honest look in the mirror and just do what I call a checkup from the neck up and say, who's responsible today? What did I do? What did I not do? What could I change? What could I improve on? Who can help me? And those were the questions that I always ask.
I love that, and I think implementing that as part of your daily action not only helps you to be consistent with the behaviors to grow your business, but allows you to have that real-time feedback of what you need to shift, right? So that you're most
Absolutely.
effective, right? I love that. I love that. Well, I talk to some people, and we have all kinds of personalities and cultures. We are a global company. So I know that we have all types, right? But what I'm hearing is that you need to have a little bit of discipline. So let's say I'm not a particularly disciplined person, because I know we have, again, all kinds of people here. Can I learn this skill of making a plan as self-reflection? And do I need to? Can I be successful if I don't implement at least some part of what you just shared there?
I think you will have some success. You probably will never reach the full level that you want because you're not taking it seriously. I mean, if we have something very important in our life, we schedule it, we plan it. We schedule birthdays, Christmas, the holidays, we schedule events, but do we schedule our life? And that was something that I hadn't really thought about. One of the best ways to look at where you spend your time is to get a calendar that has like 15-minute increments on it. And if you track yourself for a week and every 15 minutes you wrote down what you did or what you didn't do in some cases, how did you spend your time? And when you do that for 7 days, you're going to see that you've created some really bad habits. And they're not permanent. I mean, once we see kind of what that is, we can evaluate and say, okay, now how do I change this? Do I want to change it? And I think that's the bigger question. Do I want to change that to make it something better? And if I change it, is it a permanent change or is it something that's going to have to be evaluated again? And over time, you have to continually evaluate that. But the other thing I learned to do is get some highlighters, like different colors, because I'm a very visual person. So if I have my 15 minutes highlighted, if I'm making phone calls, then those are in yellow because sometimes they change. We can schedule them and life events happen. If it's birthdays, doctor appointments, anniversaries, things that are family, my time that with my kids and my grandkids is very important to me. My time that I spend getting my what I call vitamin I every morning. We take vitamin A, C, D, all these other things, but we need vitamin I, and that's inspiration. What do I do? What do I give myself daily? What am I taking daily to add this inspiration to my life? And for me, that's my quiet time in the morning with God. Okay, that's kind of how I start my day. After that, then I can go back and start by glancing down that calendar. I know from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I've got calls. I know from 12 to 1, I've got lunch with my husband. I know from 1 o'clock to whatever, I've got Zooms. Anything that's scheduled in pink is not movable. Mm. This is kind of like it's there, and don't ask me to, I'm not going to cancel it. I'm not going to change it. The yellow ones are usually my phone calls, and yeah, I can sometimes move those around. Blue things are things that I want to do, but maybe don't really have to do. So it's kind of like flex time in case I need that in there in my scheduling. But by doing that, I can immediately every morning glance at my day without having to look at my calendar and think I need to start at 1 or I need to start at 3. And it just simplifies it for me.
I like that color coding method because you're right. We have lives, right? And our lives matter. Like you said, spending time with your grandchildren, being available for them is really important. And so I love this concept because you set your non-negotiables, right? These things must happen at this time. But you've also set priority for other things by at least writing it down, right? We can switch it, we can move it, but you've committed that these are the things that I'm planning to do today, right?
Absolutely. And, one thing I want people to know if I'm working with them, I want to be loyal to them. I mean, I feel like if I can't serve them in a time that's going to work for them, then I'm not being the person I need to be. So if I tell you I'm going to be available from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, then I'm going to be available from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock to do nothing but make calls. Now, if you haven't called me by 1:30, I'm going to assume that the time wasn't that important to you, and I'm going to reach out to someone else. So I'm going to make the commitment stick as long as whoever is committed with me has that same commitment.
I really like that because I know a lot of times we really put a lot of hopes in someone that we see a lot of potential in. We want them to be successful, but maybe we seem at that moment maybe to want it more than them. And let's focus on the ones that want to work with us, right?
Absolutely. And, that was one of the things that I had to learn. I had, whenever you were talking about success in the beginning, I had my whole team in management mode and we got stuck. I'm not going to kid you. We had pretty good success for about 8 years. And then we got stuck. Our numbers were like here, and then they go up a little bit and they go down a little bit, but we just seemed to kind of plateau for about 5 years at this one number. And I'm thinking, why can't we get past this? What am I doing wrong? Is what I always have to ask myself. What am I missing? So that was one of the first indicators that I needed to get out of management mode and get into leadership mode, and to take the people that were so good to be working and consistently working and teach them how to move from managing numbers, managing people, trying to get everybody on the same schedule, basically with calls and everything, and go back to identifying the leaders. And we had a system we developed for that. We called it Fat Goats That Climb a Pole. So that's a pretty good visual. But it was a way that you could take your people, because we tend to get attached to people, not outcomes. And although I want everybody to be successful, like you said, you can't want it more than they want it. And if they're not willing to spend some time, learn the process, do the action steps that it's going to take to get there, they're probably not going to be your fat person, your fat goat that climbs the pole. And that was a way that we took the whole team and we got them having fun with it. And we started weekly management, that we took the people that were in management kind of in that mode of building, and then started taking them to the next level. And that was why Actually, I started looking at John Maxwell because I thought I'm stuck. I am totally stuck and I can't take somebody if I don't know how to get there, I can't take you. So I can plan a vacation and we can get in the car and we can say we want to end up here. But if I don't know how to get to here, or I'm taking every exit all the way there, and we're probably never going to make it.
Oh, I like that analogy a lot. I think a lot of people can understand the value of habits, setting daily targets, being consistent. But to your point, maybe someone wants it more than you do when you want it for them, right? But so what if you have someone on your team that they do want it, right? But maybe they're not fully motivated, and they're just not hitting those daily targets that you've worked on together. What would you suggest? Like, let's say it's you, Charlotte. Maybe you're like, oh, I hit presidential director and I'm just not feeling so motivated. I want to spend more time with my grandkids, whatever the thing is. What would you do to kick yourself in the booty a little bit and motivate yourself back into commitment?
I think I have to go back to my dream board. I mean, that's where I have to go back to, because we have a dream. We have visions of what we want to do. And I think when we lose that vision for us, we lose our vision and we think, well, this is a pretty good place to kind of sit. It's, you're in the mountains, and whenever you're at the bottom looking up, it looks like a pretty straight journey. Okay. Once you start climbing, you find out you reach a peak, and then you're like, oh man, I got to go down to go up again. This is us. This is kind of where we are when we start this dream. And I think you have to go back. I think you have to look at that dream plan, and you have to do it daily. You have to increase it, because when you accomplish one thing, that doesn't mean you stop. It means that you keep moving forward. And I think with goals, in some cases, when we reach a goal, whether it's manager, director, senior director, executive director, presidential or senior presidential, we set a time and we think, okay, I'll reach that by such and such day. And when we do that, we quit because we may be ahead of schedule or we may be behind schedule. If we can take that, instead of looking at it as a stop point, we look at it as a start point. Okay, when I reach this point, then I've started on to the next level, on to the next level. And if I get complacent, and we do, I'm as guilty as anybody, I'm not going to say I'm not, you get content. Okay, then I have to go back and I have to look at what do I want out of my life? What do I want to be able to do with my family, with my children? And I have to start dreaming again. And that's why I love those 3x5 cards, because the top priorities, the things that I really want to happen, if I put those and I attach them right to the edge of my computer, every day I'm focusing on those 1, 2, 3, 5 things that I want to happen. And I've set a deadline on when I'd like for it to happen. I've set, what I'm going to reward myself when that happens. And I think that's the other thing. We have to have rap sessions with ourselves, that recognition, appreciation, praise, yay, we made it kind of thing. And that's one of the kickoff points, I think, with your team, is to always have rap sessions, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, whatever it is. Get in there with them and just say, man, you guys are carrying the load. I'm so excited. We got one person here that's going to make it to manager, one person here that's working on director. And by having it as a group where everybody's working together and you're sharing in the fun and the excitement, that's what creates the growth.
Absolutely. I do think that can be so important to celebrate those successes and progress. I've recently read how the release of endorphins through simple celebration actually locks in the habits, locks in a desire for the success even more than we could ever imagine. And so I think that's spot on with what you're saying right there. That's awesome. Well, as you prepare to create your vision board, you have your 3x5 cards. What's the process you go through? I believe you've referred to it as growth sessions before. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about what is a growth session, what would that entail, and how could somebody do that in their own team or even just for themselves?
Well, I think first you have to start with your goals, okay, and have a plan. Don't just set it at goals. To me, are one of those things that can either be good or bad. If you look at a football field, you have a goal. If you look at basketball, you have a goal. If you look at archery, you've got a target with a goal right in the center. And I think the target where you're working your way into that center is the best way to look at that, because it's not the end of it, it's the beginning of where you actually want to go. So whenever I start planning my goals, what I always do is go to the end. Okay, I have a 1 year, a 3 year, a 5 year, a 10 year, a 20 year, and maybe even going out farther than that now that we have our X39. So
Right, got the
yes,
patches.
and so I'm looking forward to the future. But what I do is okay, if I'm starting this business and I haven't done this before, then I'm going to look at what I need this year. Okay, am I replacing my income? Am I building a new career? Am I starting from zero? What is my plan for this year? What would I like to see on my calendar and in my bank account by December the 31st? Whenever I do that, then I have to break that down into monthly increments. Then I have to take that to weekly increments, and then I can take it to daily. Okay, if I know the amount I need, how do I get there? So then I have to look at what I can earn based on monthly reorders, based on customers, based on new distributors. So once I start breaking down, it's going to take this much of this, this much of this, this much of this. And then if I put the combination together and that's still not coming up with where I want to be, then I have to figure out if I need to adjust one person, or, do I need more customers? Do I need more distributors to kind of get there? Okay, so once I've done that, then every week on Sunday night, I'm going to do an evaluation to see if we're even close to where I thought we should be. If we're not, then I'm going to start reaching out to the people who are with me on the team and saying, what can we do to get some momentum going? Can we run some contests? Can we do some challenges? What's it going to take to get some action created here? And then have those wrap sessions with them and listen to their concerns. I mean, the biggest problem, I think, is us not listening to what our team's telling us. If I'm not hearing what they're needing, or I'm not understanding where they're having a glitch, if you want to call it that, and, getting them past the nose to understand that doesn't mean anything. I mean, we've got billions of people in this world we can talk to, and one person told you no, so we sit over here and we worry about that one no instead of moving on with 100 that said yes. And it's just getting the focus back on where it needs to be. So I think that is where it first starts. And then I think you can take it past that and enlarge that vision. Keep your vision growing, because that's going to be the most important thing to keep you motivated to move forward. And get with your team, dream with them. If I don't know what they want, then I can't help to excite them, or I can't send them little cards that remind them what they're working for, or maybe a little, just something to let them know that I didn't forget. They've got a dream and I didn't forget that dream, and we're going to work on it together.
I love that. I think what you said, breaking it down backwards from the end result, is so critical, because sometimes it can be overwhelming, right? We may all want to achieve SPD. We may not. Whatever that goal is, it can still seem overwhelming, but taking it backwards to manageable amounts that you tie those specific activities to, I think that's super helpful. I hope everyone took a note on that. I think that's great. I've heard you and John Maxwell talk a ton about mindset and keeping your mind in the right place so that you can stay motivated, can keep with your daily consistent activities. Talk to us a little bit about how you do that, and then how do you work with your team to be able to maintain that mindset that keeps you focused on that target and goal?
I think, again, writing it down, I think, is the start to everything. And then I think every day you've got to review what you wrote down. I mean, I can write it on a piece of paper, close the book, walk off, and in 3 hours, I'm probably going to forget what it was. But if I write it down and not just put it on a piece of paper, but I've got to put it here. I've got to put it in my heart, and then I've got to put it in my head. And then we all have a subconscious mind, unfortunately, that kind of overrules. You hear one bad thing and it's like, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end today. Well, you know what? I don't know if it is or isn't, but I have the time that's in front of me, and I have to do it now. I can't base what I'm doing, what the team's doing, on what happened even an hour ago, because that's in the past. we're moving forward. And to me, to get my motivation, again, it's how I start my day. You know, I start it first with God, and then I have to center on what's around the family that has to be done. Next, I'm going to look at what I want financially. What do I want out of this as a career? What do I want to be able to do? You know, if I want to be able to give and help others, then I have to have money to do that. So, you know, a lot of people get this mindset that money is bad, and it isn't that money is bad, it's what you do with it. And if you're using it for the right purposes, that can even motivate you more, because you can see the reward that other people are being able to have, and then you can teach them and go with them. And the with them part, I think, is the most important. And every day, if you're not, in the beginning, I think every day you've got to check in with your new people. Once they've had a week or 2 weeks, then you can kind of back it off. But over a period of time, you're going to back it down to maybe once a week, once a month. And eventually, when they get enough people, you're probably going to be backing it down to maybe once every 3 months that you're even talking to them. And when you call, the best news I get is when they say, I am too busy to talk to you. I love it, because then I know that they've got their team growing and they don't have time to mess with me. And I'm like, yes, this was a good day.
That's so amazing. Yeah, I can imagine that would be such an exhilarating experience. You're like, they don't need me. This is so great.
Yes.
I taught them well. Good job, right?
Or they've taught me well. One of the two.
I love that. I love that. Well, I know we're pretty much out of time, but did you have any last thoughts you wanted to share, Charlotte?
Don't let fear hold you back. And I think that's one of the biggest things, especially when you start something that's new. The fear of the unknown absolutely can paralyze you. Just step out there in faith. You know, we've all had to start from the beginning. We've all had good days. We've all had bad days. We've all had lessons to be learned. And, you know, we've all had times that we thought we were on this trajectory going straight up, and all of a sudden something happens and takes you straight down. So don't quit. I mean, quitting is the easiest thing you will ever do. It only takes one excuse. And that's the only way you can ever go back to zero, because once you have one person that's using the product, you can't go back to zero unless you quit. Mm-hmm. And so don't quit. That's the best advice that I ever got. And it's what I'm going to pass on to everybody else. Don't quit. Just keep moving forward.
I love that, Charlotte. I think you're absolutely right. That is the cornerstone of persistence and consistency, right? Never quit. Just keep moving forward, one step at a time.
One step at a time. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Charlotte, I so appreciate you sharing with us today. I know I learned a lot from you today, and I know our members did too. So thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you to everyone here. We so appreciate you tuning in and plugging into our LifeWave community and our LifeWave family. This is a special place where we all come together as our global family, and we share in ideas, knowledge, training, but most importantly, we're all coming together in our hearts as we continue to share and bring this vision that David has shared with us, that we can change the world, that we can change how people are living and change the way that they are experiencing aging in the reverse. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. And we will have our next LifeWave Connect be focused on X39 specifically with David. We can't wait to see you all then, but have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later.